All right, let's talk about North Korea, South Korea. This story, even the first thing I say about it, is already going to arguably be one-sided in the sense that each side is disputing how this incident started. If you talk to those in South Korea, they say that they were practicing doing some war exercises, some artillery exercises in an area of water that is part of South Korea. North Korea, on the other hand, says that South Korea, they believe they were under attack from South Korea. So this was 2:34 p.m. Korea Standard Time. North Korean artillery started shelling the South Korean island of Yangpyeong. Now, North Korea claimed it only fired after the South, quote, recklessly fired into our sea area. No surprise that we hear this from North Korea, is it?
No, not at all.
The question is it true? Did they really think that they were under attack?
It doesn't matter what North Korea says. I'm siding with South Korea.
You don't even care.
I think if there's any country in the world that we should be concerned about, it should be North Korea.
You're more concerned about North Korea than even Switzerland.
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
So since the armistice, the signing of the armistice between the U.S. and between the UN and North Korea in 1953, North Korea has always disputed where the western maritime border actually is. South Korea calls it the northern limit line. Now, instead of recognizing the northern limit line, the North Korean government claims the border is farther south and that it actually includes a bunch of fishing grounds and even some islands, like the South Korean island in question here. So South Korea admits to having staged this artillery exercise there. South Korean military responded to the shelling from North Korea with some self-propelled howitzers, and the power was knocked out, actually, in the South Korean island of Yangpyeong. Several fires broke out. South Korean Air Force also scrambled some F-16 fighter jets into the area. It was reported that after it was all said and done, North Korea fired more than 100 shells and South Korea fired 80. So, question number one, do we believe that North Korea really thought they were under threat from South Korea, or is this just an excuse from Kim Jong-il and his son, who has now taken over, formally, I guess, in North Korea? Lewis, you say you don't believe they knew that this was just an exercise.
Well, South Korea didn't actually fire onto any land, right? I mean, they were firing into water.
South Korea, right.
Where presumably there was nothing.
That's right.
So, I mean, what's really the threat there?
Well, arguably that it was North Korean water, I guess, is the idea. The casualty count was there were 2 South Korean Marines who were killed, 6 were seriously wounded, 10 were treated for minor injuries, 3 civilians were wounded. So there were several casualties here. The markets were down, currencies were affected. The international reaction was really pretty mixed. I mean, the White House said that they condemn the attacks, that North Korea is acting in a belligerent way. Very different reaction, Lewis, from American teenagers. They were just outraged that Kim Jong-il had the audacity to ruin Miley Cyrus's 18th birthday with this shelling. That's really the concern for a lot of American teenagers. They didn't like that one bit.
Well, that's an unfortunate disaster, but
Hey,
irrelevant.
Sorry, Miley.
Sorry, yeah.
It happened. Every time I hear anything about North Korea, well, number one, I think about you know what, which is of course the North Korean techno song, which we're well acquainted with, and for whatever reason, even though it's playing, there it is. It's a good song. This is what they get down to in North Korea, Lewis. The first verse is really the best part here. It sounds like it's actually a MIDI file, doesn't it?
It does.
Remember in 1993 when we first got computers and you could make music but with just tones, MIDI tones? That's actually what the North Korean techno sounds like. The funniest thing to come out of this, I hate that everything now is revolving around Sarah Palin. I hate it, but I love it in a sense. Her latest comment is she confused not repudiation with refudiation, Lewis. She confused North and South Korea. The question is, and I'll play the clip for you, did she confuse the countries or does she just not know her compass directions? In other words, did she know which country it was? She just thought the one on top is South Korea and vice versa. Let's take a listen to what she said. Hopefully. If we're lucky, we'll take a listen. Here we go.
Sarah, you said in the last few days that you are considering a run for president, and polls show that you would probably win the Republican nomination. How would you handle a situation like just developed in North Korea?
Well, in North Korea, this is stemming from, I think, a greater problem when we're all sitting around asking, oh no, what are we going to do? And we're not having a lot of faith that the White House is going to come out with a strong enough policy to sanction what it is that North Korea is going to do. So this speaks to a bigger picture here that certainly scares me in terms of our national security policies. But obviously, got to stand with our North Korean allies. We're bound to by treaty.
South
we're
Korean.
also bound by, and we're also bound by proof.
It doesn't even faze her. So for her, it's just not a big deal. For her, it is all just it's semantics. North Korea, South Korea, you know what I mean. We stand with our allies. Yeah, she just responds, yeah, that's what I meant.
It's Psycho Bible.
It literally is. Sarah Palin is inundating us with geography, essentially. And North Korea, South Korea, this speaks to the White House in some way. Did you understand a single word of that?
No.
Honestly, from the entire statement from Sarah Palin about North and South Korea, the part that made the most sense was her saying we need to stand by our North Korean allies. That's the only part I could even understood.
Right. It's a good one. It's one. It's one for the soundboards.
It is good. So it is hilarious that we are getting this type of feedback from Sarah Palin and so on and so forth. But to talk seriously about what happened, if we actually ask ourselves, what is the real cause of what happened here? There's a number of different options that aren't being reported or talked about openly. Let me give you an example. Kim Jong-il recently turned things over, I guess in some formal sense, to one of his sons, Kim Jong-un. And some are saying this was just a show of power to show that Kim Jong-un is just as crazy. I'm sorry, that's not what they would say. That he is just as determined and a fearless leader as Kim Jong-il. And this may just have been trumped up for that reason. North Korea knew there was going to be this artillery test, and they're just gonna see what happens just to show that Kim Jong-un is still in power and he's just as crazy and powerful. Others are saying, and this is sad, that North Korea is so in need of food aid from other countries that they were trying to provoke an incident that would lead to just enough destruction in North Korea as a result of the retaliation from the South so that humanitarian food missions would actually go and bring them food, it actually makes perfect sense, and it's pretty horrendous. It really is pretty horrible if that's the level of oppression that we're seeing.
It sounds far-fetched. It's hard to believe that things are that bad, even in North Korea.
Oh, it doesn't sound far-fetched to me at all. There's a fascinating documentary that everybody should see on VBS.TV. It's about North Korea, and a couple of people sneak in there. They have to bribe people in China to get visas, and they're flown in early in the morning. It is incredible, and it will really expose you to, if you think that causing retaliation to get food aid is far-fetched for North Korea, absolutely not, Lewis. You've got to watch this documentary. It is compelling. And our poll question for the next week is going to be, it is now on davidpakman.com. How likely is it that the U.S. will get involved militarily in the Korean Peninsula? Some are saying this is an isolated incident. We're not going to hear any more of it. Others saying this could go the distance. So vote in the poll, davidpakman.com. We'll have results next week.
The David Pakman Show is made possible by listeners like you and by Greenfield Savings Bank, building a strong community one account at a time, with neighborhood offices in Greenfield, Amherst, Conway, Shelburne Falls, South Deerfield, and Turners Falls, and online at greenfieldsavings.com. By the Daily Hampshire Gazette and GazetteNet.com, connecting our communities with local news and information. By DIF Design, specializing in custom business websites at DIFdesign.com. Find out more about underwriting The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.